Hello there, I'm Isabella Rossellini, and I am on a mission to explore the serious role beauty plays in things we take seriously. This is not a beauty podcast. It is a health podcast, it's a relationship podcast, it is a science podcast, and today it's a business podcast brought to you by L'Oréal Group. We're going to start today by talking about a story that I absolutely adore. It is a business that puts craft, artistry, tradition at the center of its practice. Our producer, Gigi, flew to Grasse in the south of France to learn about the farm with a very pink presence.
Grasse is a small, historic town on the French Riviera, nestled in the foothills of the Alps. It's beautiful. But this September, I wasn't visiting just to look at the scenery.
What am I smelling? Because there's this nice breeze that's coming in and the air smells quite perfumed. It's quite sweet.
You can smell the roses.
Yeah, okay.
Not the roses, the rose bush, because you have some oil on the stem. Yeah, if you come, you will try. My name is Antoine Leclef, and we are here in Grasse, the world capital of perfumery, at the Domaine de la Rose of Lancôme, where we are producing flowers for the perfume industry and for the perfume of Lancôme. I am here the chief gardener. And here you have Immortel, the plant who never dies.
It looks so similar to the rosemary. Right now we're in this beautiful green area. There's hills, there's mountains, and then I look to my left and there's this hot pink building.
That hot pink building is actually the color of the centifolia rose, also called the Rose of May, the flower that takes center stage here at Domaine de la Rose, Lancôme's organic flower farm and distillery. I sat down with Antoine to understand its history.
Here in Grasse, we grow plants for the perfumery since the 16th century. Today you can find cheap ways to grow plants somewhere else in the world, and so it was nearly a bankrupt. And UNESCO came here in Grasse and recognized the know-how, which is very special here in Grasse, to grow plants, to extract the fragrance from the plants and design the fragrances and the perfume.
And for Antoine, growing things is in his blood.
I was born in Grasse in a garden. What can I do? I start my life here in the middle of the hills, in a place where it's sunny 250 days a year, when you have fragrances coming everywhere, when you have colors everywhere. You inherit that. On my mother's side, we are here in Grasse since 15 generations. At the origin, we used to make oil from the olives. We had a mill. 7 generations before, we decided to help the perfume industry by making some bottles to keep the natural oil and to make all the machine to extract the perfume from the plants.
On his father's side, Antoine comes from a long line of celebrated landscape gardeners. And he followed in their footsteps too, designing gardens around the world. But then, a meeting with Françoise Leman, then the director of Lancôme, brought his passion closer to home.
I always wanted to grow plants for the perfumery. One day, I met Françoise Leman in springtime. So here it's full of flowers, the temperature is good. And she came in my property and I proposed her to grow plants for making perfume. And she said, "You know what? It's exactly what we want. Can you help us growing plants in the Domaine de la Rose?" And I said yes.
Because Domaine de la Rose is a uniquely wonderful place for growing plants.
We are not using any pesticide, any chemical. And the previous owner didn't use anything too. We are mainly growing roses, but we have more than 12 species cultivated on the land. The place itself is very special. Why? Because it's almost the only place in the world you can find mountains. An hour by car from the Domaine de la Rose, you go up to mountains that are 3,000 meters high, and 20 kilometers from that, you have the sea. You have a special microclimate. It's windy, but never too much. It's hot, but never too hot. It's cold, but never too cold. And because of the mountain, we have a lot of water. The soil is very humid all the time. On top of that, we have clay soil. So the clay soil is like a sponge. It keeps the nutriment into the soil. It keeps the water So it's a very rich soil for the plants. This microclimate can help to grow flowers from all over the world.
So what's the process of making perfume?
Each plant has the right time to be picked. The rose, we pick it when it's fully open, around 10 o'clock in the morning.
So the centifolia rose is an early bird, but the tuberose...
We are harvesting it at night, around 9 o'clock. When I have the team of picking, which is here, I say, okay, we wait. When the humidity is coming, the flower is giving the fragrances. And then when we start to smell, then I say to the team, we go.
It's so precise.
It's extremely precise, and we have to use our nose. Otherwise, we are not doing a good job. All the picking is done by the family Lafleur. Yes, they are doing that since 4 generations now.
And they pick each flower by hand.
Picking by hand, you use 2 fingers underneath, 1 finger inside, and then you row a little, and this is the way. If you hear a tack, it's working. If you hear a scratch, it's not working. You want to do it?
Sure, yeah, I can try. Okay, so I'm putting my thumb in the center of the rose, my 2 fingers.
Yes. You
at
press
the base.
inside.
Press inside.
And you row.
I roll.
Hey!
Oh, there was a
That's
tack.
it.
Oh God, it smells amazing.
Voilà.
After picking, it's all about speed.
The second part, it's to go very fast from the time we pick to the time we extract the perfume. For example, for the roses, there are no more to 2 hours. So at the end, when we extract the perfume, what we have can smell exactly what is in the field. What is very interesting here in Grasse is that nothing has changed since the Middle Age. We have few tools. We are maintaining the land mainly by hand. We are a team of 7 gardeners. And for the rose season, we have 15 other persons coming for picking. There are 70 other gardeners that are coming in mid-November, December. That's 70 sheep coming to eat the grass and to feed the soil, the roses. And they love to eat the little leaves with sicknesses. So they digest that and they help us keeping low the diseases on the property.
They have expensive taste, these sheep.
Exactly.
And it's important for Antoine and the sheep that the gardens stay organic.
This property is like a paradise for people and for the biodiversity. With these walls, which are fantastic shelters for insects, for lizards, for bugs, for everything, why would you be happy to use chemical? I have to say that the previous owner of the property was a friend of my parents, and when they left the property, they said, I will say it in French, de toute façon la terre est à tout le monde. The earth is to everybody. So we have to respect that, and it's not my property, it's my garden.
Domaine de la Rose has 7 hectares to play with, and Antoine and his team use that space to experiment.
We are trying new things, drafting the roses in new type of roses in order to have a more resistant rose and to see if there is a changement of on the fragrances by changing the type of rose. It's a lab where we can try things, and if it's working here, then we can use it somewhere else in the world.
It's an interesting balance because you mentioned that a lot of what you do here is also hasn't changed since the Middle Ages, right? Hand-picking flowers, and yet it is also this innovation, this open sky lab.
It's always difficult to describe it because, yes, it's a mix of history and tomorrow's way of growing the plants.
Nowhere is that more clear than in one special part of the garden.
So here we are in the patrimony rose field, which is a mix of historical rose from perfumery, a mix of roses which are smelling but used in the garden, not used in the perfume industry. And at the end, some roses which has an history with Lancôme. The roses are the most hybrided plant in the world. You have a white rose, which is big, which is interesting because it's white and big, and another one which is white, little one and smelling. You mix both, and then you have an hybrid. Mm-hmm. You will have a new bush, smelling, big, white rose. But the problem is that you do that twice, 3 times, etc. You are losing the genes of the parents. And there is a very old rose which is called Rose gallica, which is nearly the mother of all the roses. So here we have a little row of Rose gallica just to maintain the genes of the rose.
Can you describe what they look like when they're in bloom?
Very simple. Red with a yellow heart and 5, 6, 7 petals at least.
Okay.
No more, very simple. Like the wild rose you can find in the forest, in the mountains.
As I was visiting in September, the May blooms of the centifolia rose were long gone. So Antoine took me inside that hot pink building to share an extraction from those roses.
I'll let you smell that. So you can smell the rose from the Domaine.
It smells quite fresh, actually. Floral,
and
quite
it's not
fresh.
smelling the rose, but it's very deep.
Yeah.
In this bottle, you maybe have, I would say, 200 kilos of rose.
Wow.
Rose Absolute is used to make perfume, of course. But how do perfume designers choose what scents to use? I spoke with Corinne Lebray, the head of scent science and fragrance design at L'Oréal Groupe, to find out.
Scent design or fragrance design, it means to design with the perfumers the right scents, the right perfumes for different projects of our different brands in L'Oréal portfolio. And actually our role is to translate emotional aspirations of brands and consumers into very attractive fragrances for each of these projects. So, as fragrance designer between the brands and the perfumers, we are going to translate the needs, emotions, heritage, history, values of our brands into a language understandable by the perfumers to make the best fragrance of the world.
So I think a lot of people won't necessarily realize that perfume consists of both natural scents like citrus or roses, but also synthetic scents.
Yes, it's a super question because it's very important to make a distinction between natural and synthetic ingredients. It's fundamental because it allows us to get the richness and the complexity of today's perfumery. So on one hand, you have natural ingredients. It can be about woods, it can be about flowers, it can be about citrus, and they are extracted from nature. And we have a lot of different technologies now to get these natural ingredients. And we developed a new methodology of extraction, which consists in extracting odorant molecules of a plant without affecting the plant. The name of this technology is Osmobloom. And it's absolutely fascinating because the dream of each perfumer is to smell the flower exactly as you can smell it in the field, just above the plant. This new methodology is just a methodology with air passing through the plant. It's an example of recent and great innovation, but there is no opposition between natural and synthetic. Synthetic ingredients, actually, are fragrant molecules created from chemistry. Natural bring this richness, this complexity, to bring the poetry of perfume, whereas the synthetic ingredients bring the precision, the performance, the innovation, and the disruption sometimes. It's really an alchemy between art and science.
Are there certain scents that you're finding like trends in different areas of the world? Like, for example, one region of the world, they like sort of more muskier, sort of heavier scents. Others more simple, more light. Can you give me an idea of that, where the customers are telling you?
So we have a big team of fragrance designers. They are everywhere in the world. All is about a collective adventure, cross-fertilization between our different cultures, different expertise. It's really key to understand the trends and the different influences all around the world. It's really our strategy to study and to go very deeply in the different influences between the regions. So at the moment, North Asia is about the milky, clean, musky sensation, whereas in Europe it's still about fudgy scent, barbapapa, as we say in French. And it will be still completely different in the US. In the US, it's a market super attracted by fruits, Brazil as well. Brazil is typically the country of a fruity sensuality. And our aim is not to be completely global with a fragrance, because we'll never be able to do this, but to understand the local and the specific needs depending the countries. Consumer understanding is really key in our daily job.
Scent is a powerful thing. It's used in perfumes, yes, but also in the creams and serums that we use daily. It gives these products character and attaches them to our memories. Ultimately, it's that marriage of technical expertise, whether in the lab or on the field, and a little bit of love that creates the fragrances we adore.
Do you have a favorite rose? If you had to choose one.
Yes, I think I love the rose which is called Rose d'Ispahan, but I love all the roses.
This is a story that is very close to my heart because I run a farm called Mama Farm in Long Island, New York. And I can tell you firsthand not only the challenge, but the rewards of running a small farm. Especially now, agriculture has become an industrial scale and small farms are disappearing. So people in the city have never seen a sheep or never seen the eggs comes from a chicken, because you have to fly all the way to a region in America that do that. So small farms have an incredible impact on your community. At least that was my experience. For me, the Domaine de la Rose is a story about preservation. It is about protecting the land of Grasse with its dry climate and aromatic plants. It is about maintaining an expertise and an enthusiasm for agribusinesses through generation. And it is also preserving skills and craft of perfumery. And I can even stretch it further. My parents were very established filmmaker. Ingrid Bergman as an actress, Roberto Rossellini as a filmmaker. And I became involved in restoration and conservation of their work. And I realized that film is endangered. We have allocated money for museum to save painting, to save sculpture, books, but not films until very recently. And it is this patrimony, it is our culture, it is our legacy that needs to be preserved. And so I found myself with the same emotion of running a farm or visiting Grasse as when I go to film archives. It tells about our history. In our next story, we're flying to India to learn about the ways in which beauty can act as an economic lifeline for those who might otherwise not be able to access work.
I'm someone who subscribes to the fact that while India is predominantly known to be so much ridden with caste and religion, I'm someone who believes that the country, like in many other societies, is divided pretty much binary into those who have money and those who don't. That's the only defining caste. That's the only divide. So I'm Manoj Kumar. I'm the founding CEO of Naandi Foundation, probably the largest non-profit in India. And I've been at this job for the last 25 years. I studied economics all my life, went on to become a banker. Nobody is perfect. And luckily, I got out of it very early. And somehow I was always bitten by the bug of working for really disenfranchised, real poor people. And the idea of Naandi was to create a very professional nonprofit, runs it like a business enterprise. So it was looking at financially sustainable business model to borrow from the corporate world, but to have vision and goals that are very clued into sustainable impact. The goals that we had set for Naandi, which was broadly poverty alleviation, but specifically focusing on girls, women, and farmers, working with close to 1 million people every day is what Naandi does.
And one of the women that the Naandi Foundation has worked with is Nagma.
हाय मेरा नाम नगमा है Hi, my name is Nagma. I live in Sion in Mumbai and I'm a makeup artist. Since my childhood, I have lived with my maternal grandmother and my mother. My mother is paralyzed, so I'm the only earning member of the family. When I was a year, my father left me and my mother. And so there has been no male figure in my life growing up. I wasn't allowed to study after grade 12. And I stayed home and didn't do much for a year after grade 12. And it was around this time that I decided to leave my house so that I can study, so that I can pursue my dreams. The driving force behind all of this for me was that I wanted to become independent based on my own talents, based on my skill, so that when I grow up, I am self-sufficient. I never have to turn to anyone for support and I can stand on my own feet. I want to be in a position where I'm not dependent on a man. I'm not dependent on my husband to support me.
Nagma started working with the Naandi Foundation as part of their Beauty for a Better Life program.
The design for this program is to work with colleges so that we can deliver beauty-based employability or income-generating programs. We have a partnership where L'Oreal supports us with the entire money required for the program. And what they do is they train our master trainers. And along with that comes this very aspirational brand tag L'Oreal with it, which is fantastic when it comes to the aspiration of our women and our consumers in the market that the women are trying to get a job. It teaches them the trade skills from the beauty point of view. And Naandi supplements it with a whole range of other entrepreneurial gaps like financial skills needed, the marketing plan, advertising or branding skills at a micro level, simply confidence, how to be resilient to, failures, if any. So it's a whole lot of mentoring and coaching that is embedded in it. Many women don't know how to dare to dream to get a job on their own. So making them break free from their stigma, from their fears. It's a beautiful program where we get kind of women who already chose this career, but then are likely to be lost because there isn't that module that takes them to be employable. So this was the objective. And just to give you an example, just in 1 year, we could reach out to 11,000 women. And this year, we should be able to do 50% more, which means 16,000.
But for many participants, even being allowed to take part in the program was a challenge.
When I left home, there were a lot of questions from the community, from the society, asking where I have gone, why I have left. And the most common assumption was that I have left for a boy because it isn't regular or it isn't normal for girls to leave to pursue an education or to skill themselves. So even when I got back home, I was not allowed to work and I was told that you should only study enough to teach your children. And what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do with an education? What else are you going to do with your skilling? And I thought to myself that if I don't fight for myself now, if I can't fight for myself today, how am I going to fight for my children when I grow up?
Why do you feel beauty education is particularly effective or important in this context?
Beauty and wellness is one of the largest and fastest growing employment and livelihood segment even in India. It is a still completely untapped market segment from employability point of view. So that's one way of looking at it. You can work from home and earn. You can choose when to work and earn. And it has such amorphous ability to find customers in different segments of the society at different times that it is probably the most adaptable skill one can have to be earning at any point in time. So in every sense, economically, it's a great opportunity. But the real other aspect I want to touch is what beauty and wellness does to women in general, what it does to empowerment. I wanted to highlight the fact that self-esteem was an area that most of the girls that I work with, whether it is school going, whether it is teenage, or whether it is the youthful age post-teens, everybody that we speak with, work with, whether they are farmers, whether they are job seekers, the idea of self-esteem was so integral to their idea of getting a job or getting empowered. They found that the easiest bar to cross was to get higher up on their self-esteem ladder. And beauty, or to look good, was almost like the passport to get their confidence levels up.
And this was certainly true for Nagma.
Growing up, I was never allowed to wear makeup at home. But while I was studying, I had to be presentable, and I would sneak in lipstick and eyeliner when I went to college and apply it on myself and feel incredibly confident when I was well-groomed and presentable. When I apply makeup onto others and to see their faces brighten up and to see their self-confidence enhanced gives me a lot of joy and purpose, and that's why I've chosen to be a makeup artist.
And it goes even further than that.
Beauty is also about freedom and also of the right to have your own private time and leisure. None of the teenage girls that we spoke to said we had leisure as a right. When you looked at boys, they had leisure time. Boys could go out to play anytime. They could go out to do nothing. They could go out to loiter. But girls had to always explain why they were doing something at any point in time, why they were going out, if they went out, when they will come back, why they are locked up in a room, how much time they can spend in a loo. Everything was questioned. Whereas allowing beauty to be a socially acceptable right gives them the sanction for leisure, for their own time, because a vast majority of them are deprived of this right.
And uske baad bhi kafi, hurdles aaye.
So once I did start working, there was a different set of challenges that I had to deal with. One of them being staying out of the house beyond 8 p.m. I've grown up in an environment where I was not allowed to go out with friends, where I didn't have a phone, where I couldn't even go to my neighbor's house. So I had to fight to stay out and work beyond 8 p.m., which is typically required in my profession. I was asked to be the makeup artist or part of the makeup team at a destination wedding. And this was a huge turning point for me, because here's this girl who has never stepped out of her house, never been to her neighbor's house, and now I'm leaving the city to pursue my dreams. And even there, I was not allowed to go. I said a little bit of a lie to my mother and my grandmother, where I told them that the tickets are already booked, and so I have to go, and there's no backing out now. That's how I traveled out of the city for the first time through this program.
That combination of on-the-job training and coaching has proven crucial.
And most important, makeup artist बनने के बाद वो
Since I've become a makeup artist, I've seen a lot of changes in my confidence levels and in my communication skills. The old Nagma would hesitate to say the smallest things and doubt herself at every step. I went to school or I went to college and I came straight home. I had no idea how I should be handling my money. I didn't know how to travel by train. I didn't know how to open a bank account. But it's only after I've become a makeup artist that I've gained the confidence to do all of these things, to develop these life skills and to stand on my own feet. The love and the trust of my clients is something else that I feel like I've gained through this profession, which I value a lot.
And the program is creating ripple effects beyond its participants.
We are unknowingly, unwittingly, but powerfully influencing men, because the men are beginning to recognize the fact that it's okay for women to be empowered. They were always scared. Every man that I knew of in the last 20 years that we were working with had the struggle of not letting women to be empowered, because then they thought they lost control over them. And this is universal, nothing to do with India, any society, and they have different shades of it, that's all. But to make men to handle that transformation, because you cannot get a woman in isolation and just transform them and release them. You have to work with the ecosystem that imprisons women, and that ecosystem is very patriarchal. So what is not written in the proposal of grant is how much this is also changing the minds of men around these women. And that's a very powerful thing.
And Nagma couldn't be happier.
Because of course, लड़कियों के साथ यही होता
If I
है
didn't
कि
pursue
age
this
के बाद
course, I would probably be married with 2 or 3 children by now. This is what happens with girls. This is their fate. This is all I've seen in my family, in my community. There's no one in my extended family, no cousin who is a girl who has been allowed to focus on her career and pursue a job. So this would be my fate as well. I'm very happy with my life now and the career that I've chosen. I have shared my struggles very openly so that I could inspire other women, I could inspire other girls who are in similar situations and similar circumstances to be brave and to pursue their dreams. And that's what gives me the greatest joy.
I know that beauty can be seen as a tool of oppression, but it can also be a way for women to take their identity and creativity into their own hands. And, as in this case, an opportunity to make money. Sometimes I feel that the beauty industry is not taken seriously. It's about frivolous things. But the beauty industry employs millions of people around the world. In our final story, our producer Gigi speaks with Gail Federici, another trailblazer in the world of beauty, whose career as an entrepreneur has made her one of the wealthiest self-made women in America.
I'm Gail Federici. I'm the CEO and founder of Color Wow. I started in the hair care industry by a fluke. I was temping at a business that made perms, but I spent a lot of time in the lab. What really started me was my own hair. I had extremely frizzy hair. It's multi-textured, some curly, some straight frizz, and there was nothing in the market back in the day that was formulated for this hair type, nothing at all. The word frizz wasn't on any product. I left and joined John Frieda, who had his own line of products, a hairdresser from the UK. He asked me to join him, and I said I had an idea for frizzy hair. Would he be okay with my pursuing that as well? And that's how the John Frieda company started. I had been reading about ingredients. Silicone was an ingredient that I thought might be good for this hair type. Not long after that, the product Frizzies was born. First product out there for frizzy hair.
So when you say that you sort of had frizzy hair, can you tell me a bit more about that? How did it affect you?
I had straight hair until I was 13. And then everything changed. I needed braces, I needed glasses, and my hair turned frizzy. It definitely affected me. I had to spend a lot of time blowing it, smoothing it, and it could easily go back to being its frizzy self if I went outside.
It's interesting what you say about you had this sort of problem, which I think a lot of young girls do, or young women, young men as well, where, you know, they're not happy with their hair. A lot of people don't do anything about it. They're just like, oh, well, I have frizzy hair. It is what it is. How do you find yourself going down all these rabbit holes?
I was given a product to sell to the consumer when I was in the advertising side of the business. And it was never clear to me why a hairdresser would need this product. I never had enough information. So I would go up to the lab and speak to the chemist to say, what is different about this product than anything else out there? Why would a salon need this? Because there are many other products in this category. What is so special about this? And I would keep picking their brain to find a hook to sell the product. And then I would speak to hairdressers to say, if we had a product like this, would you be interested in it? Would you pay this much for it? How compelling is it? And how can we make it compelling by putting forth the message from the chemists to the end user?
That makes sense. And obviously we're speaking to you because you founded Color Wow. What is the reason for being for Color Wow?
To be honest, it was my sister. One of my sisters, who has better hair than I do, went gray much earlier than I did. And she wasn't covering her roots. Every day she would come in and she would have this stripe. You know, I never thought about that issue. That wasn't a problem I needed to solve. And she said, I don't really like anything out there. I don't like the sprays. They're messy. The markers wet my hair. They look very opaque. They don't look like hair. So I just wait to get my roots done. But in between, I have that period where it's still gray. Some women are happy with letting the gray grow out, and they look great. But some women don't want it for whatever reason. And so I thought, this is interesting. So I went to malls and I would go up the escalator to look down on consumers' heads, women's heads, to see if, is my sister weird and she just doesn't cover it and there's really solutions out there? Or is this a common problem? And I looked, and the amount of women that had that stripe was incredible. And I thought, with the baby boomers, because this was about, 15 years ago, I said, all these baby boomers, this is a huge marketplace. There must be something, a better way to handle this problem. And I had remembered that we had done a shoot with a session stylist who put a blonde wig on a model, and it looked fake. And so the hairdresser went in with a brown eyeshadow to tweak the roots to make the hair look more natural. But when we hit it with a fan, the powder blew off, and it was also dull. The powder was very dull. So I was just thinking about it, thinking, well, that's such an easy application by just dabbing it on the hair. And you could put many different pigments into a powder to make it more natural. You could also put reflective particles in it because hair does have shine. And it would be an easy and more seamless way of handling the problem if we could get it to stick, which was the key. So it took us about 3 years, and we had 8 different shades that blended perfectly. But I still did not want to go back into hair care. We sold the John Frieda Frizzies Sheer Blonde, Beach Blonde in 2002. And I thought, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, the whole thing, and didn't want to go back. I went into the music business. Then my sister went to Florida, used the product, called me over the weekend and said, you're not going to believe this. I was swimming. I went underwater, came out, my hair dried, my roots were still covered. No dripping, no nothing. It doesn't come off. It needs shampoo. This is such a good product.
You're pulled back in.
I was pulled back in against my will. Let me just tell you, I did not want to go back. But we're a problem solution company. That's who we are. It makes such a difference when you have something you can use that makes your life easier and makes you feel better about the way you look. I've always said, when you make something that matters, you make money. And you also feel good about the day. So we decided, okay, here we go again, and started the company.
So recently, Color Wow was acquired by L'Oreal Groupe. How did the acquisition come about?
Well, we have been growing very quickly. Since the pandemic, growth has been meteoric year after year, and it was becoming unwieldy, difficult to staff up. It was difficult to catch our breath. We were all wearing many hats, working a tremendous amount of hours. We had requests from all over the world for the product, and we couldn't address those by ourselves. We knew we needed experts to help with the growth. And then the last couple of years, I thought we really need to be serious about looking at expertise outside of our own company. I felt that we had one foot on a banana peel at times because it was just moving so fast. And our team is amazing, but there comes a point in time where you need an investment of expertise, of teams that really had done this before. It was very clear that L'Oreal really had a deep understanding for our overall ethos, like what makes us tick, the problem solution. They're the number one beauty company globally. They totally understood the ethos. And as far as their image, it's very important to them. And they understood that how we were positioning our line toward the consumer was very important to the overall growth and positioning of our products. It's a combination of the innovation, but also the aesthetic of the company that they understood fully. So it was a perfect marriage. We felt very lucky. And they have a lab that I just visited last week. That was a shocker. They had equipment like 2 football fields worth. It looked like you were at NASA or something. It was unbelievable. And to have access to something like that was beyond overwhelming. To have access to that kind of expertise and talent, it was like, what can you do? The possibilities are endless.
I'm still quite curious also, because obviously, with Color Wow, you mentioned it grew so quickly. What is the heart of that? Why did it grow so quickly, in your opinion?
When the pandemic happened, we were very scared because a third of our business was in the trade, and the salons were all closed. It was a very scary time for us. We weren't in any stores at the time, just online and in salons. I said to the team, this is kind of make or break for us, and basically Churchill once said, never waste a good crisis. I said, so we better look at this and really level up big time and figure out how to be everywhere digitally that we could possibly be. And so we did things like an apple a day with Chris Appleton and put him live online. We sent products out. Our own team was making videos and doing before and afters like never before. We were just everywhere all the time and showing people how you can use the root cover-up even though you can't go to the salon, how you can make your hair brighter with our Dream Filter. Those were certain products that were critical during the pandemic, and everybody was talking about them. In fact, the New York Times mentioned that our root cover-up was one of the 3 key products during the pandemic. One was toilet paper, one was something else I can't remember, and one was the root cover-up. And then Sephora called us. We went to Sephora, and our products are very easy to demonstrate. And I think that's been the key to success, because what we say the product does, it delivers. It delivers, and people get the product in their hands, and they do videos.
That's also interesting, right? Because we're talking about time when people were stuck in their homes, and yet dyeing their hair was still something that was incredibly important to them. That sort of says something very interesting also about the necessity of these products, or at least the importance of them to humans. So this is the second brand that you've successfully built up and then moved along from. What is it about building a business that you enjoy the most?
The strategy and thinking about ways to do things better, working with the team to figure out how to compete against players that are huge, these big behemoths out there. How do we compete with way less funds? So you have to be super strategic about everything, and you really have to deliver on the promise. So we have to, in this digital age, make sure that whatever promise we're making, it super delivers, so that when we send products out or people pick up the products, they can use it and see the difference and communicate that online. And that is a real feel-good moment for all of us. It really is what makes us get out of bed in the morning, when we see the response from consumers.
When women enter the position of power, not only they pave way for others, but they also have new way of expression, new way of communicating. Things certainly have changed, and it's also the case in film. When I speak to many of my friends who are actresses like me, they all confess that they wanted to be directors. But I belong to a generation where directors were men. Even me, if I were to relive my life, I would like to be a director. And a lot of women directors started as actors because that was the only possibility to work in films, to be part of storytelling. This is what I like, storytelling. And I could do it as an actress. But if I was younger, I think I would have been a director too. Today's stories are so different. But when it comes to business, whether we're talking about large-scale corporation, generated expertise, or entrepreneurship, beauty is something to be reckoned with. Thank you to our guests, Antoine Leclef, Karine Lambrette, Nagma, Manoj Kumar, and Gail Federici for speaking with us. Our theme music is by Jim Bromberg and Ben Landsberg of Wonderly. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on our new episodes. And if you don't mind rating and reviewing so that other listeners can find us. And if you haven't listened yet, the back catalog from season 1 is now available. Next, we will be exploring the unexpected ways in which beauty has impacted the world of sport. I'm Isabella Rossellini, and thank you for listening to This Is Not a Beauty Podcast, brought to you by the L'Oréal Group.